where we talk to other entrepreneurs in different aspects of the field of entrepreneurship in order to share their expertise and hopefully eventually turn this into a place where we can take some live calls and share the knowledge that is out there for everybody. And so today, I'm incredibly grateful that Emily would take her time to come on here. Emily and I have spoken before. She's into marketing. She understands things like fractional marketing officer and various other aspects. And so we asked her to come on, and she so graciously accepted the offer. And so with that, Emily, thanks for taking the time and coming on today.
I'm excited. It's my favorite topic, so we'll try to keep it in our little window of time, but I could talk about marketing all day. So I'm excited to help.
Yeah, and I apologize in advance for people listening. I may cough a couple of times getting over some sniffles, but yeah. So let's just open it up real quick and kind of give everybody just a little bit of background at who Emily is, and where you've kind of brought where marketing came into your life and where you are at it with it today.
Yeah, so marketing runs in my family, which not a lot of people know. You know the AC, the hardware stores, the really big ones.
Yeah.
My grandpa actually was one of the ones who branded that, one of the main couple guys, long time ago. So
Wow.
he came up with the name and branded the store. And my grandpa had a marketing company, and he did old school signage in California, and then it just got passed down to me. So marketing has been in my DNA forever. I actually didn't even know that story until I was well into my marketing career. My dad told me, I'm like, that would have been really cool to know like a long time ago.
Yeah.
But my degree is in marketing. I went to Liberty University, and then right when I got out of college, I started freelancing in marketing. So I would manage social media accounts for people, and then I immediately started working for a PR company that I found on a Facebook group in New York City. And I didn't even live in New York City, but I joined a bunch of groups, and I worked for this PR company, and they would just send me random clients around the US and say, this guy is retired, he's writing a book, he's never been on Instagram. So build his following so that when his book comes out, people care. So I'd get random people, I'd build their following. And then eventually at that time, my husband at the time was starting to develop websites. And so he was a developer. And I said, well, you're doing websites, I'm doing social media, why don't we just do this for ourselves? And so in 2017, we started a marketing company. I have videos on my Instagram about this. We had literally 16 cents to our name and two toddlers. They were 1 and 3. Absolutely no money, totally broke, no investors, nothing. And I did 100% of the sales. We scaled it to multi-millions and then just exited at the beginning of 2025, actually, officially. So it's been a long road, and marketing, I always tell people nowadays when I talk about it, is way different than like when I started
Yeah.
13, 14, 15 years ago. It's crazy.
Yeah, well, I don't even have one fraction of the experience you do in it, but just in the 6 years that we've been working, I feel like it's changed tremendously. So
Yeah.
I can't even imagine how
Yeah,
much
and
change you've seen.
it's a daunting subject for people as well, which is kind of why I like it. It's stressful for business owners, no matter what industry they're in, unless you love marketing, and it's very rare. It's just so stressful, and people think it's so expensive. So I ended up, after leaving my marketing company, becoming a fractional CMO. So I'm essentially a contractor. I'm a chief marketing officer for different companies around the US, completely different industries. I take applications and interview them. And that really came about because owning my agency, what I realized when I exited that, and I built up my fractional CMO a good chunk of time before I left my agency because I was gearing up for exiting it. So I've been doing it for a little while now, last year and a half as a fractional CMO, but I realized all these business owners, they need help in so many different areas. A lot of times they would hire an agency for like social media, but then they're like, well, I have interns or internal team members, and I don't know how to manage them. I don't even know what to do with them. So I come in as a contractor between 10 to 40 hours a week, and then I just cover all the bases for them.
Yeah, you actually teed that up very nicely for the first couple questions that I had for you. So thank you for doing that.
You're welcome.
Um, you kind of just hit on it, but maybe a couple different highlights. My specific question is for people that don't understand exactly what fractional chief marketing officer means. Like, how does that differ from somebody who would hire a full time chief marketing officer?
Yeah, a full-time chief marketing officer, if a good one, is going to cost you a lot of money, like 120,000 minimum for a good chief marketing officer. Like you're gonna have to pay them a chunk. And what I found is these like medium-sized companies, they don't have the money for that, and they're just trying to gear up, they're just trying to build to get to that point one day. And so I will come in and I will build them a marketing department. We have a lot of conversations in the beginning about where do you want this to go. So if I have a company that's like, well, I know I want to franchise eventually, okay, well then I know as a fractional CMO and I'm doing 10 to 40 hours a week, I know that when I come in, I need to gear up for we're going to scale. And then eventually maybe this owner wants to exit or they want to pass it to their kids. But we have a lot of those conversations up front. So I'll manage their agency. A lot of them already have another agency. And since I owned an agency, I know how to talk to them. But 9 out of 10 times when I work with a client and they're like, I'm paying this agency thousands and thousands and thousands. And then I come in and I'm like, well, first of all, you're overpaying.
Mm.
Second of all, you don't even know what you're paying for. And third, every other week they have a meeting. They don't even know what they're saying. They can't understand the analytics. They don't know how to fix it. So I come in and a lot of times I have to overhaul and then change the ads. And then now they click. Now they work really well. So it's a good sweet spot for like small to medium sized companies that have already have usually 10 or more employees. They know they need help, but they can't afford a full-time expensive person.
Yeah, you answered the second question. Great. Small to medium companies. I think the one layer deeper I would ask is, what about somebody that's like, I'll just use myself as an example. Like I started out, I way outshine my headlights, and I spread myself way too thin. so, so one of the things that suffered was marketing at all, like not even posting. Like, does that work for somebody like you, or is it maybe just a little bit too premature if you're kind of at the initial stages of startup?
No, I would say if you're less than 5 people, you generally don't need a fractional CMO. I would say you more so need a consultant.
Okay.
Um, because I don't think you're going to want somebody that often, but or you're going to need somebody that often. You're not quite there yet. So I would say generally a consultant. Every now and then I'll take a client as a consultant, and what we'll do is like every Monday morning at 8 a.m. we have our meeting for an hour, and so I'm telling them, and that would probably work better for people like that. And then those meetings, I'm telling them, here's what you're going to do for the rest of this week for marketing. Here's what I want you to change up. We're looking at what they're doing. And then every now and then, if they've got other internal people, they'll bring them on. I'll talk with them too. And then every Monday, we have a check in. Did you do that? Here's how we're adjusting. Here's what your content on social needs to be. Here's what emails you're going to run. So that's probably more in line. And that's less expensive too. But for someone who's less than 5 people, I'd say you wouldn't need a fractional CMO. You probably want a consultant.
Okay. That that makes sense to me. Um, what are the biggest mistakes that you see small businesses make when it comes to marketing?
They're spending money in areas that they absolutely don't need to spend money on. They will spend money on expensive graphic designers, agencies that generally specialize in one area, but they don't need the other. They don't know how to hire an agency because they don't even know what they need. So, for example, I see a lot of business owners hire an agency for their ads. Well, ads, the content of the ad is what determines if an ad is going to be effective or not. And so you need an agency that has at least a creative element to what they do so that they can set up your ads. So sometimes I'll have clients where if they hire an ad agency and I come in and look at that, the ad agency threw up something horrible for ads because they didn't have the creative assets to be able to do that, and then it's a complete bust, waste of money. Or the business owner just doesn't know how to read their ads. They don't understand it. So I think people need to be careful where they're spending their money. They'll hire an intern. They'll say, "I'm paying my intern $2,000 a month." I'm like, "For what? An intern for what?" Like you could
Mm,
have somebody do that for like $800 a month.
mm,
Um, and then the other area is that they are just probably the biggest one is I see business owners are just too scared and controlling is what it is to let go of their baby and have somebody else do it. Maybe they've been burnt in the past, or they're like, well, this is my bread and butter. I know my business. No one can talk like me on Instagram. I have news for you. Nobody cares if the verbiage is perfect on your Instagram caption. We don't care. Consumers don't care. They care about your product. They care about your service. They care about the experience. they don't care if your caption didn't use the proper emojis, a business owner would use. So you have to let go of the control of it. And you have to at some point trust that it might be a learning curve. I mean, I'll be honest, it might be a few months before you get the hang of it's like a new employee, you get the hang of each other. And some business owners will quit, in the very beginning. I didn't like that. So there's a lot of mistakes that business owners are making right now, and it's costing them so much money.
Yeah, no, just to recap, the two that you highlighted is unnecessary expenses where they don't need to be because they don't understand, and then not letting control of their baby. Those
Yeah.
sound like the top two.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
No, that's great. Um, how let's see. Yeah. How does working with a fractional CMO typically look? Like, are the engagements short, ongoing, or are they project based? Like, how does that typically work if somebody was looking to hire somebody like yourself?
Yeah, so you can definitely do project based, but it depends on the needs of a business. So if they want to grow and scale and it's not just managing a project, then you would need someone ongoing. But typically, so it's between 10 to 40 hours a week. For me, I can't speak for all fractional CMOs because they're different. And there's not many out there. There's only a small percentage of us that do it. But I will come on and I will have a series of initial meetings. Where are we going? What are you spending? What are we doing? And then a lot of what I do as well is leading their current team too. And it might not even be people that are in the marketing department. So, for example, one of the luxury home builders that I work with, when I come on, they've got a front desk girl who is young. She knows social media. She likes it. I've seen her personal content and they're paying her minimal. She's not doing very much at the front desk for this builder. So I determined when I came in after getting to know their team a little bit, that girl might be really good at social media. And if somebody teaches her a little bit, we could probably, for what you're already paying, get her to do this. And she might really love it.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times I'll come on and just kind of assess like who's doing what, and where do we need to readjust that. What a lot of business owners don't realize that they have kind of gems, like they have people who have a good skill set in marketing, especially the people who hire young. They've generally got it. And so you just need somebody to kind of come on, they can be under their wing and coach them and manage them. So we start out with a series of meetings. We determine where we're headed and what we've done and what we're working with currently. And then we go on to, I would do a full breakdown of, okay, we need videographers, photographers, we need website, we need, so I'll do that. And we will come up with like a 90-day plan usually. So as a fractional CMO, I always do minimum 90 days.
Okay.
I cannot stand a business owner that's like, let's do this for 2 weeks and I expect my business to like double my revenue. I'm like, you've lost your mind. You're insane. So any area of marketing, regardless of if you have a fractional CMO or a social media manager, any area of marketing or an ad campaign company, you need to do 90 days or more at least. Never do marketing with a new person that you bring on for any less than 90 days because that is not the industry. Marketing takes longer than 90 days. Don't do 60 days and be like, I quit, it didn't work. It takes longer than that. And it takes a lot of determination. You got to financially gear up for it, but you have to have enough grit and stability to hold tight when you don't know yet if it's going to click or not and get that ROI, but you have to stick with it.
Yeah. No, that makes perfect sense. I think a lot of times, a lot of us are short sighted on our initial stages, and marketing absolutely makes sense. It's one of those things where, like, if you don't stick with it for a while, then how can you reasonably expect to understand? In fact, the next question I have, yet again, nicely queued up for me. My question was going to be what key marketing metrics or KPIs should a business focus on when they're measuring their success with regards to marketing specifically?
Ooh, that's a good question. So it would depend on the industry. Like obviously an e-commerce industry is going to be very different than if it's a service-based industry. The four main areas I think I would focus on to determine if you're getting a solid ROI, and the four areas you really should be generating leads in your business from are, I would say, your website, your social media, your ad campaigns, and your email campaigns. Those need to be the four areas that you're looking at no matter what industry you're in to determine if you're getting an ROI on marketing. So there's obvious things like for your email campaigns, What's your open rate? What's your click through rate? How many people are actually purchasing from that email? That's very important. I would look at that number one. Those are easy things to adjust. Now, again, they take time. So everything I'm going to tell you will take time.
Yeah.
You don't just switch an email campaign and a week later you're like, oh my God, we made it. It's not going to happen like that. Your social media is primarily for brand awareness and engagement. So I would look at that. How many people are actually engaging with my business on social media? And then how many of them go to purchase from me? So that's what I would look at. For your website, where are you ranking? That's very important. I compare it to your competitors, do a competitor analysis, look at all of those analytics, look at Google, look at the back end of your site. Your site should, for it to perform well off the bat, it needs to be on WordPress or Shopify. I'm going to lose my mind if I see another Wix site. Like, don't call yourself a solid business if your site is on Wix. It's that's contradicting to each other. And then I would say for your ad campaigns, obviously here we're all business owners, right? The only thing we actually care about is, did I get leads that bought from me? All
Yeah.
we care about are the numbers. That's the beauty of marketing, is like numbers don't lie. So you can look at your email campaigns and your social media and your ads and your website, and you can see if your sales are going up or not. I always like to just make it a little more feasible for people, because a lot of marketing companies, they'll come in, they'll throw a bunch of numbers and words at you and you're like, I don't know what you're saying.
Mm.
So those are at the end of the day, that's the goal. Are people actually purchasing from me in those four areas? If one of those areas is not providing leads for you, and that's time you take a good hard look at it. And there's ways to adjust all four of those, but those are the areas that matter the most.
Yeah, you hit on a couple points that our mentor talks about all the time, which is that revenue solves all problems, which you kind of were alluding to that. And then the other thing is talking about, understanding where are you getting, your solid leads from. So,
Yeah.
yeah, those are two great points. So, in your experience, which marketing strategies are providing the best ROI based on your experience, let's say in the last 1 to 2 years?
Well, I would say emails are like, I'm obsessed with emails. I love email campaigns. They do so well. And I would say social media, because social media is like, it's a necessary evil. So, I mean, depending on who you ask, some people, to me, it's not an evil, whatever. For parents, it's an evil, right?
Yeah.
But social media is necessary if you own a business. So, those are my favorite ones. Right now, people are very into using AI. That's pretty controversial. I hear a lot of people frustrated by it, but in marketing, it's wildly helpful. So I would say don't be freaked out by it. If you're redoing like your website, for example, and you need to come up with like 50 SEO keywords, great. Just take it onto Chat GPT and don't feel bad about it. Like, that's super helpful. So I would say if you want to save yourself a little bit of time, it's okay to use those sort of things. There does need to be a personal touch to it, of course, on social media, depending on your brand. But anyways, no, I would say email campaigns, ads, and social media. Those are the main areas that they've got to be clicking and working, but there's so much that goes into it. Like a business that's running ads, people will spend a couple $100 and say, why didn't that give me the leads that I needed? It's $100 is going to do nothing. You may as well light that money on fire. You need to start with a couple thousand and then you're playing. So you got to gear up for these sort of things. Yes, revenue cures all. And it's hard when people are like, well, I want to run ads, but I don't have the budget for it. So then you move to things that are free, social media. That doesn't cost you anything. Invest in a good social media manager. That's under $1,000 a month for a solid social media manager. I do that with my clients. I manage their social media. But invest in a good one that can do that. It's low cost for you, and then gear up to those sort of things. Email campaigns are not that expensive. There's websites that I love that are low cost, free. There's so many things that you can do with a small budget. In today's day and age, there's a million things you can do to get to the point where you can spend more marketing dollars.
Yeah, well, you touched on another point that the mentor also links with. Yes, revenue solves all problems, but one of his things is, people's apprehensions to put any really dollars towards marketing. And to steal his words, he literally was like, it blows my mind because people are like, well, I don't want to, I don't want to spend $3,000 a day on marketing or whatever. And he's talking in even numbers bigger than that sometimes. But he's like, but you're not looking at what is that return bringing for you, Anyway, I don't want to digress. I want to stay
Yeah.
focused on that. But it's funny to sit here and have this conversation with you and have you basically validate those same things. So,
Yeah, and the $3,000, that's the thing is people expect to get a return immediately. And a lot of what marketing is you might not get a return on that 3,000 in the first month. You actually
right.
might not get it for month 2 or month 3.
Mm,
Like, let's just keep it real, because if a marketing company or an agency or somebody comes to you and they says, "I can no doubt get you a return in month 1, even month 2 or 3," that run. Just run. It is absolutely inaccurate. And then it screws the rest of us who are very honest with clients and tell them it might take a bit. Like, buckle up, baby. Trust me.
yeah.
But you have to keep that in mind as a business owner, so you got to gear up to it. But that's why, like, if you've got a solid social media that's generating leads, you're getting customers from it, great, start putting a percentage of that. Now you got to get good with your money, right, as a business owner. So if you're getting a bunch of leads and sales from your social media, good, then set aside a portion of that and reinvest that into running ad campaigns, into an effective email campaign manager, somebody who knows how to make an email click and generate sales from it. So you got to be smart about your money, but you got to pay to play.
Yeah. Yeah. No, those are great, honest truths. Man, those are great. Um, for entrepreneurs with limited budgets, what advice do you have for them as far as how they should prioritize it? I guess you kind of answered a little bit of that with you talked about social media being free. Um, can you expound a little bit as far as like for people with limited budgets, what's their best approach?
Yeah, get good at social media. Get really good at watching videos online on how to do it.
Mm,
Like, if you want to be working in your business still and not on it, then you're going to need to get good at YouTube. And by that, I mean sitting on YouTube for hours at night, and that's what's going to make you different. That's what's going to make you outplay your competitors. Sit on YouTube, watch videos on how to effectively generate sales from your social media. Watch videos on how to build a killer email campaign and pay next to nothing for it. So the hard part is, and I get it because I've been there so many times, the hard part is as a business owner, when you just don't have the budget for it, you got to then hustle and you got to learn. And I
hmm.
do think that there is something to be said for every business owner who knows all areas of how their company works. So I am a big believer that when the time comes and you have people doing your marketing as a CEO, you should know what they're doing. You
Yeah.
should know how to talk to them. So, like it or not, if you don't have the budget right now, start teaching yourself so that when
Mm,
the day comes, you do have the budget, you actually understand what on earth is being done. Otherwise, you're just a really ignorant CEO and you don't even know what the people who are doing marketing for you are even doing. And that becomes a really big point of frustration, because then a CEO never bothered to learn even just basics of marketing for their company. They eventually bring somebody on and then they get frustrated because they don't know how it works. Or they'll cancel, or they will say, I'm not getting an ROI. Maybe you're getting a great ROI. You just don't know how to read the reports correctly.
mm,
And so I think I would just get really good at social media. I'd get good at learning how to effectively work on my website. Maybe you can get really good at, like, build yourself a WordPress site or get on Shopify and do that yourself. And then, like, a podcast, anybody can start a podcast. So just don't be the business owner that sits and complains that they don't have the budget for marketing and yet you're not even willing to hustle and do it yourself. When I first started my agency, I went to every single networking event in Raleigh for at least the 4 years myself. Did it burn me out? Yes,
hmm.
absolutely. They get
Hmm.
really old doing the same elevator pitch, but they worked. And I built a multi-million dollar company off of doing that. I really credit those sort of things to networking. So that's brand awareness and marketing right there. That's advertising yourself. So just get good at doing the social media and
Yeah.
working on your site. And but I would say if you have a limited budget, don't ever run an ad yourself. Don't ever boost a post yourself. Boosting does absolutely nothing. It's just a magical button that makes Facebook more money. It's not going to make you more money.
Well, I had one more question, but you just said that, and now I'm incredibly intrigued. So, in less than 60 seconds, can you just give a synopsis of why? Let me rephrase the question. Is the ad or the boost button irrelevant regardless, or only if you're at a certain metric?
No, it's irrelevant regardless. You know how like when you're checking out of the grocery store and it's like, oh, I'll add a pack of gum. It's like a quick little upsell. That's what the boost button is for Facebook. And they love it and they make so much money off of it. It's crazy. But boosting is just going to show you your current audience a little bit more. It's not going to qualify people because you're really not, it gives you basics of targeting. It's not going to bring you customers. It's definitely not going to bring you qualified leads for sure. It's just a simple way for Facebook to kind of upsell to a business page, but it's not going to show you new qualified organic leads. It's just going to show your current audience you a little bit more, and maybe they're direct friends. It's not going to give you any type of return really.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, I mean, I got super frustrated, and I'm kind of digressing, so I'll be very brief about it. But I was telling my wife, I go, I'm super frustrated because I can just put out a random basic post, nothing significant. And just from mutual entrepreneurs that just try to support, so they'll either like it or they'll just put an emoji just to help the algorithm, right? Um, at a minimum, I'll get 40 or 50, right? Then I'll post something that has a link to like what we're doing right now or something. Zero. The only
Yeah.
ones that see it is my mom and maybe one of my siblings. And I was like, bullshit. Absolutely. Like, so I feel like they throttle the heck out of anything that steers them away from keeping them inside the ecosystem.
Yeah, they know what they're doing. They're a business too. They know what they're doing. So that's why you have to get good at other things and not rely on one.
Hmm.
But my favorite thing that doesn't cost anything at all is your personal Facebook profile. My personal Facebook has brought me in the majority of my sales. It wasn't a business page that I built, and I know Facebook like the back of my hand. And Facebook with your personal profile will always outplay your business page every single time because people are sick of being sold to. They don't want to look at your business page where you're just pitching them on crap all day long. They don't want to hear it. They're tired of it. Then you turn on the radio, ad. You turn your kids watch YouTube, ad. You're sick of it. So get really good at your personal profile. I have a whole strategy the way that I do that. I spend time every single day on my personal Facebook profile, probably 30 minutes, and I add people all the time. The reason I do that is because now I'm in their feed.
Yeah.
Then I'm strategic and I don't throw up business things. I do it. If you look at my Facebook profile now, I do a really healthy mix of might be business related, it might be a meme, it might be something personal or funny, but I purposely do that. And I will do statuses with no images. For example, one of my highest performing posts on my personal Facebook was years ago when the Cybertruck came out. And I said, what are your thoughts on the Cybertruck? That's it. Thousands and thousands and thousands of people on my personal profile. And now, boom, my very next post is about my business. And wouldn't you know, all of those people, I'm now in their algorithm because they engage with my Cybertruck post. So my point is get really good at doing things that are not just shoving your content down people's throat. Buy from me, watch this, do this. You need to figure this out, whatever. And just do a mix of things because the algorithm knows and then you're in their feed purposely.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's a great share. Um, well, we've been on for a little bit now, and I got enough time. I'm going to ask this one last question. What trends or shifts do you see in the market that businesses need to pay attention to this year?
AI, for sure. Definitely AI. Also, the influencer marketing game has completely changed. It's changed as far as like running ads with an influencer. There's a lot more regulations. Finally, they cracked down on that. So you have to actually jump through some hoops if you want to run ads with an influencer or have them promote your content. So they've made that a little bit. And again, it's because people got really tired of being sold to and they don't believe anything anymore. It's always a hashtag ad you're choking on every single time you're on Facebook or Instagram or whatever. Um, so I would say I think those things are still effective. I would always find somebody with a following that can kind of partner with you and help you push it and promote it. It's going to go so much further. So find some affiliates, find some influencers, That's one thing that I manage, and I don't charge for that. So if a business needs an influencer, it's generally I have a massive network of friends, so I'm always happy to help refer. But I would say AI. That's like the biggest trend that people are doing right now, and you can kind of start to sniff it out. And it's kind of the Wild West still. There's not many regulations on it. You can do it. Sometimes it will trip algorithms, but it's still working pretty organically. And so I think that's really going to change marketing for people.
Yeah, I like when you mentioned that earlier because um, I dabbled a little bit, but I would say within the past 2 months, I dived very deep into it. Like where I went from using it maybe an hour or two a week to I probably use it 4 to 6 a day. But
Mhm.
I consider myself a fairly creative person, and it's not that I'm necessarily having it do everything. I'm telling it like the framework, and then it's spitting back stuff like a sounding board, and it just helps me become that much more creative. So
Yeah.
I love it. Um,
Yeah. People are scared of it, but like it or not, it works. So I love ChatGPT. I mean, I think it's going to affect Google. I think it's going to affect Google's revenue actually, which is crazy because now that's my main search engine is ChatGPT. So
yeah, yeah,
I'm
that's very
convinced it will. Not many people agree with me, but now we have it on record that
well.
I
They're
said that.
fighting, right? I mean, obviously they have Gemini, and then
Yeah.
there's Grok, which I actually just dived into, and that seems fairly robust too.
They're trying to keep up.
Yeah, 100%. So, as we kind of just kind of close out here, can we just can you share with people a little bit about how to get in contact with you? And but before you do that, uh, so I understand you do fractional chief marketing officer, but then you also cited all these other things. So like how if somebody wants to use your services, what's like the scope of services? Like Emily does all the way from this all the way to this and everything in between.
Yeah, I would say just to keep it super vague and easy for people, if you need help with marketing, talk to me because
Okay.
I will either refer you to, yes, that's something in my scope of work, or obviously I owned an agency. I know a bunch of agencies that are solid. So, and I know a ton of influencers and individuals. So if you need help with marketing, it doesn't cost you anything to ask me about it. Like I'll do free 15-minute calls with people and tell them, here's the direction I would probably go. I just love that. So I don't ever charge for that. If you need help with marketing, everywhere on social media, my handle is Emily Loves Business. No spaces in between. So you can reach me on Facebook. TikTok is my, F around and find out, embarrass myself content, but Instagram is a little bit more polished, but you
Yeah.
can find Emily Loves Business on anywhere. And I'll handle everything. I'll do social media, website, like content, emails, all of it. But of course, as a fractional CMO, there are definitely times where I will have to tell the business owner, and that's one of our early on conversations. What's your budget? Because how much do I have to work around with? Like, am I going to dedicate that to an ad manager? Am I going to dedicate it to a videographer? So that's an early on conversation that I have with people.
And so if they do hire your services, there's like compartmental things that you can do that would be a certain price bracket
Yes.
versus
Right.
consistent. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
I'm always trying because they're spending money on me as their fractional CMO. And I'm a big believer in like you can get things either free or really low cost. So, and I know what it's like to be a business owner that you're like, oh, this is just killing me. So I am incredibly frugal with all of my businesses. If they're like, okay, on top of what I pay you, I have an extra few $100 per month, then I know, okay, here's where I can allot that. So I'm always really careful about that sort of stuff. But like there's the majority of stuff falls under what I can do. So I'll manage the social media. I'll grab the influencers that don't have to pay for that. Like I just kind of poach a lot of my friends and they will always do it. Um, so there's a ton of stuff that's included in there that they don't have to pay extra for.
Oh, that's so awesome. Emily, thank you so much for taking your time and talking about marketing and hopefully, educating some more people out there to understanding what and how they should take care of this. And, if anybody out there is looking for a marketing expert, Emily's here at Emily Loves Business on all of her platforms. And again, thank you so much for taking your time to share your knowledge, Emily.
Anytime. It was fun.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
Yay.
Yeah, that was down and dirty. I like it.
Easy peasy. Yeah.
Yeah.
If people ask other questions,